reason the Republican Party, what you're watching is a realignment where the Republican Party becomes the middle-class party. And Trump's singular contribution to this whole thing was forcing that. He's a blunt instrument. I mean, he's a Viking. I'm serious. He showed up at the Republican Party, you know, like long hair, matted beard. He torched all their huts. He slayed their livestock. I'm not kidding. He carried their women over his shoulder back to his longboat and rode back to Norway. I mean, he really pillaged the Republican Party, and with him came hordes of middle-class people. So all of a sudden, if you're wondering what all the drama is and all the kind of, it's like, you know, Episcopalian Christmas dinner where there's lots of unspoken resentment. And it takes a very high level of drunkenness for it to come out. You know what I mean? What are you thinking about, honey? You never loved me. I know you know nothing about that, but I've lived it. If that's what's going on in the Republican Party right now. There's all this anger. So, you know, on stage, Paul Ryan, Speaker of the House, is like, oh yeah, Donald Trump, I love Donald Trump. You know what I mean? Hates Donald Trump. Donald Trump hates him. What's that really about? That's what it's about. It's changing the composition and the orientation of a major American political party is not easy. Because it's the Republican Party, it's taking place sort of in this passive-aggressive way. But the outlines will be very clear, I would say, 2 or 3 election cycles from now. And by the way, that's a good thing. It's a good thing. Parties and I'll stop with this and take your hostile questions, but parties, well, I'll keep going. No, I'm sorry, I get into free association mode and you don't even want to go there. But the point is, parties only exist, literally, I'm not overstating it, they literally only exist to represent their voters. New Hampshire primary. I'm sitting getting a haircut at the Metropolitan Club, it's a men's club in D.C. where I go for lunch with my dad and my brother. Great place, very staid. And I go in to get my haircut, and I said to the barber, there's nobody here. Where's everybody? He's like, oh, they're in New Hampshire for Jeb, of course. Like the entire club, like emptied out. And they all sort of took a day off from the law firm to fly up to Manchester to give it the old try for Jeb. Who, you know, who's fine. I'm not attacking Jeb. Well, that's kind of interesting. So I'm sitting there getting my hair cut. And this guy walks in who's actually a very well-known guy and a very good guy, who's a Republican Party official. And there's kind of a moderate Republican stronghold in Washington. And we're sitting and I said, man, it looks like Trump is like, and I was leaving that day for Manchester. He goes, looks like Trump's going to do pretty well. He's like, what? I said, what if he gets the nomination? He goes, we can't get the nomination. And I said, I know, but what if he does? Like, you never know. I mean, it's a little weird. Donald Trump, the New York Post headline guy, is going to be the nominee of the Republican Party, but like it could happen. He goes, we're not going to let that happen. And I said, well, what are you going to do? He goes, we'll take it from the convention. And at the time, my thinking on this was evolving because, you know, I didn't catch a lot of this stuff. I'm just watching. But I remember saying to him, like, what do you mean you're going to take it from him? Is it really yours to take? Like, do you own the Republican nomination? Do you own the Republican Party? You're just some, I didn't say this out loud, but I was thinking you're just like some functionary who lives in my neighborhood. You don't own the party. It's voters own the party, don't they? Like, by definition. He's like, no, we can't. We can't have Donald Trump as the nominee. They never stopped thinking that. Which, again, I understand. I try to be an empathetic person. What I don't understand is why they don't understand the effect on the rest of the country of doing that. What you're basically saying to people is your worst fears are true. It'd be like going into your 8-year-old's room and being like, I'm sorry, Bobby, there actually is a monster under your bed. There is. Those snuffling noises, that's totally real. It's not a tree scratching against the window. It's a monster with sharp teeth and pools of saliva waiting to eat you the second I leave. Just so you know, sleep tight. That really is the message. So out there in the rest of the country, outside where I live, people are like, well, wait a second. They say it's a democracy, but I notice no matter who I vote for, no one ever does what I want them to do. Like, I'm not an extremist in immigration. Like, I'm for immigrants, but shouldn't you have control of your own borders? And if you don't, how are you a country exactly? You're not. It's a definitional question. Countries have territorial control of land, period. Doesn't mean you exclude everybody. It means you decide who comes. That's it. If I invite 10 people over to dinner at my house on Saturday night, it's called a dinner party. If 10 people I've never heard of show up and start eating my food, it's something very different. It's not a dinner party. And if I say to them, leave, and they're like, shut up, racist, then we have something very, very different, okay? And it's not something that you want, actually. And by the way, I'm totally happy to have 10 people over for dinner. I just want to have a say in who they are. So it's not complex. And voters have been saying that precise thing to Washington, only since 1965, not that long, 51 years. And they totally completely ignored voters. And by the way, this is not an esoteric fact that I dug up in my journey through political science. These are publicly available polls you can pull up on what we call the internet. They're available to anyone who's interested in what the public thinks. We know this conclusively. They've thought this for literally generations. Totally ignored. Same with trade. Nobody contests that trade generates prosperity. Of course it does. That's not even up for debate. What's up for debate is whether you should sign a trade deal in which the other signatories get to cheat without you saying anything about it. Well, who's for that exactly? Well, we are, turns out. So if you raise your hand and say, I'm not against trade, but why is this good for us? Shut up. You don't understand. What, are you an economist now? Oh, yeah, did you work at McKinsey? Where's your HBS degree? Don't have one? Shh, adults are talking. And actually, it's kind of intimidating. As a non-expert, as a non-economist who majored in Russian history and didn't even graduate, I'm like, oh yeah, it's I don't even know how to pronounce it. Economics, I guess. Whatever, I don't know, you're right, you're totally right. Here's what I do know, BS. I'll never forget, I covered the NAFTA debate of 1994, and of course I was totally on the side of NAFTA because I'm on the side of progress and on the side of trade, actually, and I still am. But I'll never forget the one part of that debate that bothered me at the time and bothers me immensely now was the line, universal, from everyone I knew, that this trade agreement will be good for everyone. There's no one who won't benefit from this. Now, again, I'm demonstrably not an economist, okay? But I do pay attention to life. And I thought at the time, as I think now, that is a lie by definition. If someone tells you that something is all good, that it's an unalloyed positive from which everyone will benefit, he's lying. And by the way, if you wake up and you find something that is all good, you are dead, actually. And you have gone to a better place. But in this temporal existence, nothing is all good. Everything is a mixed blessing. It's somewhat better than it is not. And you try to go for the thing that's better than not better, okay? But that's as good as you're going to get. Here's the problem. Continuously lying about the effects of policies to the public that pays for those policies and has to live their consequences creates deep and profound resentment. If you tell people this is going to happen and it doesn't happen, and you tell them that enough, they're really mad. If you think you're getting a pony for Christmas and you get a bag of hair, you never forget it. You're telling your therapist about it 30 years later, okay? And that's what we've done. I understand. But what's infuriating, and this is my last sentence, and critically, what will ensure future cycles of volatility, cycles that we should all be concerned about, is the unwillingness of policymakers to admit any of this. We caught you, you won't pay attention, so we elected an orange guy to get your attention, and you're still not paying attention. Who are we going to elect next? So it's super important that they pay attention. And with that, I will stop.